Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about why at some point in your Counter-Strike career you should try out IGLing. Probably towards the start of your Counter-Strike career, not towards the end. That would be kind of dumb. I'm sure many of you have actually tried IGLing before, and it usually ends up with failure, right? You either surround yourself with people that didn't buy into the process and disrespect you, don't care what you have to say, or you put a lot of time in and your strategies just don't work. Usually, if you try to IGL, it's going to end in failure. I know that for the first however many seasons of me IGLing, it's ended in failure, where I feel like I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I need to just do something else. With that, failure helps growth. It promotes getting better and promotes learning from your mistakes. And without that failure, you don't really understand your mistakes, right? So if you failed as an IGL before, I would recommend trying it out again. Maybe surround yourself with different people, or just plainly learn from your mistakes, right? You failed once, you know exactly what not to do this time. Doesn't mean that you're going to automatically succeed. You might just fail in a different way, but at least you won't be making the same mistake twice. Now, what did I mean by it gives you a different perspective on the game? Well, coming up with strategies is insanely difficult, right? You can write out a strategy and it looks amazing on paper, and you actually try it in game and it goes horribly. And there goes 20 minutes of your time that you spent working on this strategy, another 20 minutes of teaching everybody and making sure it's dry run properly, and it just outright fails. So those are the kind of things, just like before, where you have to learn from your past experiences. You have to learn from your mistakes and see what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how to avoid it in the future. Now, my rule of thumb is that strategies with less moving parts, less variables, have a better chance at succeeding, right? If you have, 5 smokes going down, that's 5 chances for somebody to mess up a smoke or forget what they're doing or die with a smoke that you can't then throw. The less utility that you're using, the less complicated a strat is, the better that it will work, especially with lower level players. Lots of times you'll see at the silver level, gold nova, even like MG, whatever, if they have a 5 stack or a team and they're trying to come up with these strategies, they go balls to the wall, super complicated kind of stuff, and it's just gonna fail, and it's gonna lead to everybody getting tilted. They're gonna try to remove players, change it up, because that's what they're gonna blame it on, right? But you have to understand that a simpler strategy is going to work much better, much more of the time. So being able to come up with those strategies and really see why something is failing will allow you to help your future IGL, because this is why you should IGL at some point. This isn't why you should always IGL. It will allow you to help your future IGL with their own strategies. For example, you're in a practice and your new IGL or whoever it is talking to you and saying, hey, this is going to be our A take. If anybody has any suggestions with it, please let me know, right? I know that my stuff isn't the best, so I'm sure that you guys have some sort of ideas, right? And if you've never IGL'd before, you could just say, oh, well, it seems like we need more smokes down, or what about if this happens? What about if that happens? And if you haven't IGL'd before, yes, you can come up with so many different ways that the strat's going to fail, but at some point, you're going to figure out you can never make the perfect strategy. And if you have IGL'd before, you can actually say like, hey, I've tried that out before, and what I found is that if we throw this flash instead of this flash, it works a lot better. Or maybe if we only put 3 people there, we don't need all 4, the spacing gets messed up. Those kind of things are actually helpful, and you won't be able to figure out those kind of things unless you've IGL'd before or you've played at a high level for a very long time. And I'm assuming that most of you have not played at a high level for a very long time, or else my videos would be kind of pointless. But it's really hard to do that, and there not too many people have done that, is my point. So the vast majority of people are, getting into this. And the shortcut, the cheat way to get all the game sense that somebody who's played at a high level for a long time has is just to IGL, right? It's a fast path to looking at the game from a complete team perspective. Now, what do I mean by looking at the game from a team perspective, right? Now, if you're a rifler and you think, oh, I need to pour more hours into this game, what are you going to do? You're going to DM, you're going to, work on your aim bots, whatever. That's pouring more hours into the game for you. Maybe you work on smokes, right? But if you're an IGL and you have to pour more hours into the game, or you feel like I really need to work on my stuff, that means working on the strategies, refreshing the playbook, coming up with new kind of ideas, taking ideas that you've seen, editing ideas that have failed in the past to maybe they'll work, teaching everybody what to do, and then working on your aim. There's a whole lot more that goes into it, and because you're looking at it from a team perspective, there's you just see so many more issues than just your aim. Your positioning, but you're positioning around your teammates as well. Your teammates positioning to support you. Did you die there because you're an idiot, or because you assumed that your teammate was going to come out with you? Or, that's not immediately your teammate's fault. Maybe you didn't communicate it properly. But those kind of things where it's not just like, oh, I lost a lot of gunfights today, I just need to work on my aim. No, maybe it was bad positioning, bad spacing, the smoke miss, the flash missed, or something like that. There's so many other things that can go wrong besides I missed my shot. And while that's the easiest thing to think about and to fix, it's usually not the actual thing that you want to focus on. After IGLing for a bit, it's going to be very difficult for you not to be looking at your radar a decent amount of the time, especially on a default or mid-round, just trying to figure out where people are, what people are looking at, and what sort of info they're conveying, or not conveying. That's the biggest issue with a lot of lower level teams, is that teammates won't know what information to say, what, they don't want to overstep or, step on the toes of the IGL and say, hey, I think we can go A here, but in fact, IGLs really love that when they have vocal teammates that are going to call out, hey, they just used 3 mollies towards A. If we do a late execute, they won't be able to shut it down with a molly. Something like that is so helpful to the IGL, and unless you've played at a high level, like I said, where you recognize that, hey, that's actually good information to give out, or you've IGL'd before where you're like, man, I wish I knew that information going into the round or going into that execute, you don't know to give that sort of information. And it takes an experienced IGL to tell you to give that information, but then it takes a mindful player to actually react on that and give the information in the first place. Having that experience under your belt is always going to be helpful. My last point is a little bit out of game, because when you've IGL'd before, you understand how much time is put into the strategies and coming up with things and the research out of game. So when you show up on time for practice and 3 of your teammates roll in late, it's really disrespectful, and it's something that if you've IGL'd before, you're probably not going to be showing up late for practice, because you know the amount of time that's been poured into this, and you don't want to be disrespectful in that way. You know how deflating it can be and demotivating it can be for somebody who's just spent a lot of time just for the team, and then the team doesn't really care about it. One thing not to do as a previous IGL, if you're on a new IGL's team, right? You don't want to go in on their first day of practice when they're talking about their default and doing all that. You don't want to go in and say, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's going to fail, this is horrible, why would you do that, right? I know personally, I've had people do that to me before. I've also done that to people before, and I regret it because I know how it feels. It's not what you want to do. You want to be as supportive as possible and then make small little tweaks, because at the end of the day, unless you're playing advanced, maybe advanced, probably premier and above, the strategies don't matter that much. It just comes down to the execution, the polish, and everybody being on the same page, right? The understanding of what's going on and what needs to be said. The strats don't matter that much. It's just how they are carried out and how they're performed. So arguing over, well, it should be this flash instead of this flash, while yes, every 20 times you run it, it might net you 2 extra kills. Taking the time out of practice to worry about those minute details is probably not for the best, especially when the time could otherwise be utilized to, work on them or polish them a little bit, or dry run or work on a completely other strat, make your playbook a little bit deeper, right? So you don't want to just dig at your teammates all the time. You want to be as supportive as possible, and if you can't IGL or you're too worried about IGLing, maybe just try mid-round calling. Say, hey, I can try to secondary call this game if you want. You call the strat, and I'm going to be more vocal about what I see and what I think we should do. Obviously, you can override it, but I'm just going to say what I think. And it might be helpful. If you don't like it, then I'll stop. But it's going to make you think more about your radar, where people are, what utility's been used, what utility is still available, if you've drawn any rotates, if it's too late after you drew a rotate and they're already gone back to site. Those kind of things are really helpful for your IGL to figure out, and really helpful for you as a rifler to already be thinking about if you've IGL'd before, right? So thank you all for watching. I hope you have a good day. If you are interested in getting your demo reviewed by me, click the join button on the channel page. I have a couple different tiers on it. If you want half a demo, full demo, and coaching, those are all different options. Also, follow me on Twitter. I've been a lot more active, posting memes here and there. And so, yeah, all that is in the description below in the link tree if you want any access to that. So, again, thank you all for watching. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you all next time.